Imagine a city gripped by relentless heat. The air shimmers with distorting waves of heat. Asphalt melts, cars bake, and the sun becomes an oppressive force. This is the reality of a heat wave, a natural phenomenon intensified by human actions. Heat waves are not merely uncomfortable. They are a growing threat to human health and infrastructure. As our planet warms, these events are becoming more frequent, intense, and longer-lasting. Understanding the causes and consequences of heat waves is crucial for our collective future. Heat waves are characterized by prolonged periods of excessively hot weather, often exceeding average temperatures by a significant margin. These events are triggered by a combination of meteorological factors, with high-pressure systems playing a critical role. High pressure acts like a lid on the atmosphere, trapping heat and preventing cloud formation, leading to scorching temperatures that can persist for days or even weeks. The impacts of heat waves are far-reaching, affecting human health, stressing ecosystems, and straining infrastructure. From heat stroke and dehydration to exacerbating respiratory problems, heat waves pose significant risks to vulnerable populations, particularly the elderly and those with pre-existing medical conditions. The strain on healthcare systems during these events is immense, highlighting the urgent need for adaptation and mitigation strategies. As we confront the realities of a changing climate, understanding and addressing the escalating threat of heat waves is paramount. By acknowledging the interplay of natural phenomena and human-induced climate change, we can begin to implement effective strategies to mitigate their impact and build resilience in the face of this growing global challenge. Heat waves are triggered by specific atmospheric conditions, primarily the development of high-pressure systems. These systems act like giant domes of warm air, sinking and compressing as they settle over a region. The sinking air inhibits rising air currents, reducing cloud cover and allowing more sunlight to reach the surface, further amplifying the warming effect. The trapped heat builds up over time, leading to the extreme temperatures characteristic of heat waves. While high-pressure systems are a natural part of atmospheric circulation, climate change is increasing their frequency, intensity, and duration. As global temperatures rise, the atmosphere holds more moisture, leading to more intense heat waves. Warmer air masses also have more energy, making them more likely to stall and persist over a particular area, prolonging the duration of heat waves. The link between climate change and heat waves is undeniable. Scientific studies have consistently shown that human-induced greenhouse gas emissions are the primary driver of global warming, which is altering atmospheric patterns and intensifying extreme weather events, including heat waves. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, the leading international body for assessing the science related to climate change, has concluded with high confidence that heat waves have become more frequent and intense across most land regions since the mid-20th century, with human influence being the main driver of these changes. The science is clear. Our actions have consequences, and we are witnessing those consequences in the form of more frequent and intense heat waves. Ignoring the link between climate change and these extreme events is no longer an option. We must act decisively to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impacts of a warming world. Failure to do so will result in increasingly severe and devastating heat waves, jeopardizing human health, disrupting ecosystems, and threatening the stability of our planet. The fingerprint of climate change is evident in the historical record of heat waves. Over the past century, global temperatures have risen by approximately 1 degree Celsius, 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, with the majority of this warming occurring since the 1970s. This warming trend has been accompanied by a significant increase in the frequency, intensity, and duration of heat waves worldwide. Data from weather stations around the globe paint a stark picture. The number of extreme heat days, defined as days with temperatures exceeding a certain threshold, has increased significantly in many regions, particularly in the mid-latitudes. For instance, a study published in the journal Nature Climate Change found that the average number of heat wave days per year in the Northern Hemisphere has tripled since 1950. These trends are projected to continue and even accelerate in the coming decades unless aggressive action is taken to curb greenhouse gas emissions. Climate models indicate that under a high-emissions scenario, heat waves could become 4 times more frequent by the end of the century, with temperatures reaching unprecedented levels. The consequences of such extreme heat are dire, threatening human health, straining infrastructure, and disrupting ecosystems on a global scale. The evidence is overwhelming. Heat waves are becoming more frequent, intense, and longer-lasting, and human activity is the primary driver of this trend. It is imperative that we heed the warnings from the historical record and take immediate action to mitigate further warming. The future of our planet and the well-being of generations to come depends on our collective response to this urgent challenge. Section 4. The human toll. Heat's impact on health and infrastructure. Heat waves pose significant risks to human health, particularly for vulnerable populations such as the elderly, infants, and individuals with pre-existing medical conditions. When exposed to extreme heat, the body struggles to regulate its temperature, leading to a cascade of health problems. Heat stroke, a life-threatening condition characterized by a rapid rise in body temperature, can result in organ damage and even death if left untreated. Beyond heat stroke, heat waves can exacerbate a range of health issues, including respiratory problems, cardiovascular disease, and kidney problems. The elderly are particularly susceptible to heat-related illnesses as their bodies are less efficient at regulating temperature. Infants and young children are also at risk due to their smaller body size and developing thermoregulatory systems. The impact of heat waves extends beyond human health, placing significant strain on infrastructure. Extreme heat can buckle roads and railways, causing transportation disruptions. Power grids are also vulnerable as increased demand for air conditioning can overload systems, leading to blackouts. These infrastructure failures can have cascading effects, disrupting essential services, hindering emergency response efforts, and exacerbating the overall impact of heat waves. As heat waves become more frequent and intense, it is crucial to adapt our infrastructure to withstand these extreme events. This includes investing in heat-resistant materials for roads and bridges, upgrading power grids to handle increased demand, and implementing early warning systems to alert communities of impending heat waves. Section 5. Cities under fire, urban heat islands and adaptation strategies. Cities with their dense populations and concrete landscapes are particularly vulnerable to the effects of heat waves, experiencing what is known as the urban heat island effect. Concrete, asphalt and buildings absorb and retain heat, creating significantly higher temperatures in urban areas compared to surrounding rural areas. The lack of vegetation and the concentration of heat-generating activities such as transportation and industry further exacerbate the urban heat island effect. Urban heat islands pose significant risks to human health, particularly for residents of low-income neighborhoods who may lack access to air conditioning and green spaces. To combat the urban heat island effect, cities are implementing various adaptation strategies. These include increasing green spaces through urban forestry initiatives, installing cool roofs and pavements that reflect sunlight, and promoting cool roof programs that offer incentives for homeowners to paint their roofs white or light colors. Green roofs covered with vegetation act as natural insulators, reducing the amount of heat absorbed by buildings. Cool pavements made from materials that reflect more sunlight can significantly lower surface temperatures. Cities are also exploring innovative cooling technologies, such as misting systems and cool air shelters, to provide relief during extreme heat events. Addressing the urban heat island effect is crucial for mitigating the impact of heat waves in cities. By implementing a combination of nature-based solutions, technological innovations, and policy interventions, cities can create more resilient and livable environments for their residents, even in the face of a warming climate. Section 6. Turning down the heat, mitigation, and our collective responsibility. While adaptation strategies are essential for coping with the immediate impacts of heat waves, addressing the root cause of the problem, climate change, requires a global commitment to mitigation. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is paramount to curbing the long-term trend of increasing heat waves and their devastating consequences. Transitioning to a clean energy economy is crucial for mitigating climate change. This includes phasing out fossil fuels and investing in renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal. Improving energy efficiency in buildings and transportation is another critical aspect of reducing emissions. Individual actions also play a role in mitigating climate change. Reducing our carbon footprint through sustainable transportation choices, energy conservation at home, and supporting businesses committed to sustainability can collectively make a difference. Engaging in political advocacy to push for ambitious climate policies is another impactful way to contribute to the solution. Addressing the challenge of heat waves and their connection to climate change requires a multifaceted approach that encompasses both adaptation and mitigation strategies. It demands a collective effort from governments, businesses, communities, and individuals to implement meaningful changes. The time for complacency is over. Our actions today will determine the severity of heat waves and their impact on generations to come. Let us choose a path of responsibility and action for the sake of our planet and future generations.